no matter how bad you think the situation may be, believe in yourself. Believe that God is guiding you through so many different challenges and in your life, and have faith. I told myself I am going to step out of my comfort zone, and that helps you to grow professionally and personally.
Welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen, and on today's episode, we have Erika Buenaventura. Now, you guys know me, I'm not big on the big introductions, but Erika is the South Florida, the South Florida
Regional
Director of ProVisors for South Florida. So basically, your job was to get all of South Florida up and running. Right?
That's right.
And that we have about 440 members, I believe.
440 members in 3 years.
That is amazing. So we're going to, I wanted you on the podcast for a while. I've been in ProVisors for about a year now. David and Manny from the firm, they've also been in it about 6 months. We're having a blast. It's been absolutely fantastic. And from even the very beginning, when I met you, I was like, she's doing some really cool things. Once I get comfortable and get any ProVisors, I want you here. So just tell us a little bit about your role in ProVisors.
Yeah. So I'm the regional director of ProVisors in South Florida. ProVisors is a national community of trusted advisors. I have the privilege to lead and oversee all of the groups in South Florida. We invite senior level professionals. That's what set us apart. The professionals are trusted advisors that have been around for a very long time in their firm, 20 years, sometimes 30 years. But the requirement in order to join the organization is 10 years. So I was tasked with I was tasked in building the region from the ground. So that was a great opportunity for me. I'm originally from Peru. I grew up here in South Florida in Plantation, and I came here when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So, not knowing English, that was a very challenged part for me. But I feel like those early experiences really shape my resiliency and my drive.
So I definitely want to get into that because I know there's an amazing story there. But before we do, so with ProVisors, now ProVisors is a higher end networking group. And I've been fortunate to be in it almost a year. I know we've been operating in Florida or South Florida for about 2.5 or so. So what was that like when, and I think it's such an amazing, cool experience that you get to build something. I love building things. I love being a creator. And so were you hired by ProVisors to specifically build this region?
Yeah, so great question. ProVisors does give you a training when they bring you in. You have the full support of the leaders, but in this role, you have to be able to learn and adapt quickly.
Okay.
So for me, the building relationship part of it came naturally because of my past experiences. But building the region from the ground up, it was very hard because nobody have heard from ProVisors in Florida.
Right. I know it was big in California, big in the Northeast for a few years, but exactly, nobody heard about it. So there's a lot of people that would be intimidated or would say, oh, learning and adapting quickly, building something from the ground up, that's my nightmare. So why was that so attractive to you? And what did you do about it in order to hustle and go from 0 to 440 in a very short time?
Yeah. So I started my career in 2006 with AT&T as a sales associate. And I developed my passion for building relationships and helping others succeed. So when I first started my career in 2006, it was an opportunity as a sales associate, but then I did grow with the company, and the company had an initiative, which it was called Project Velocity. It was to bring Fiverr to millions of businesses, and I was part of that initiative. So that brought the experience that I bring into the table with ProVisors. So when I heard the CEO of ProVisors say, "This is new, we want you to build this from the ground," I was already familiar with building something from the ground.
And then obviously that energized you and you liked that. So that's amazing. So they give you some training, and after you're trained, what do? Do you go into your Rolodex to start thinking of people? Do you put out ads? I mean, right? I could see some people just being completely overwhelmed with where do I start? So how did you manage that?
Yeah, so I have a really good eye for group leaders, and that really helped me to start the region by bringing in the right people. I recently heard from a coach from a football team, one of my favorite football teams, that say, you cannot be great without the greatness of others.
Absolutely.
So that, to me, bringing in the right people that understand the vision of ProVisors, that had the same passion as I do, was key in order to upstart the region. So definitely the people, but also it was important that I have a relationship with the members so that the members can go out and spread the word about the organization.
Right. It's kind of building that kinetic energy where once you get it going, it won't stop. It'll keep going and building even more and more. I think, right. I'm sure going from 300 to 440 was probably infinitely easier than going from 1 to 100, right?
I think it was the other way around.
Really?
Yes. In the beginning, we actually got to 100 in less than a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, remember, we're continued to grow from 300 to 400, but there's also the retention part. So we want to keep the members happy. We want to bring in the right value to the members so that they're happy and continue to stay. So growing from 300 to 400 was a bigger challenge, but that's okay. We got there, and we continue to work as a team to make sure that the members feel value, heard, and that they're part of something that, they like and, they're excited about.
Okay. All right. And so as this is starting to build, you're getting a few people, getting some group leaders who are now spreading the word, and they're becoming responsible for growing, right? Helping to grow their own groups and networking. Where are you now as far as ProVisors? I mean, there's 440 members. How many groups are there? There's at least, by my calculation, at least 10.
Yeah. So let me tell you the story. When we first opened, we opened with a couple of groups, and we probably started with 20, 30 members. Okay. That's how we started the region. Since then, we've grown the region to 440 members. Today, we have 14 established groups, soon to be 17 home groups, which is how we referred to the groups. But aside from that, we have affinity groups. Now, affinity groups are more sector-specific groups that are designed with a specific interest. So as an attorney, you can be with other attorneys in the same group. So we have a group that's only for licensed and practice attorneys, and then we have affinity groups that are also for real estate. So we continue to grow the region by bringing value to those members.
Right. And I can tell you, not only am I in my home group, but I am in the Lawyers Affinity group, and I think that's been fantastic. as well. And I enjoy both groups very much. I do see immense value from that. So now when we're talking about continued retention, so right, you sign up and it's basically a year, right? And you can continue, right, every year. What other initiatives are you guys working on to have people, continue to get value and continue to retain and re-sign and be happy?
Yeah. So definitely when we open new groups, that brings new members, which means that now the existing members have opportunities to continue to grow their network, to expand their resources so that they can better service their clients. So moving forward, we will continue to open groups in Miami, which is a huge market.
Yes.
And there is a lot of diversity in South Florida. So we want to be able to open groups in Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton. Today we have groups all the way to West Palm Beach. And we're even reaching now Port St. Lucie, San Martin Martin County. So there are definitely other plans for that. And opening other affinity groups. We have the estate planning and succession affinity group, which is going to be huge for those that are in estate planning.
Oh, absolutely.
Family law.
And that can allow people who are highly specialized and working in maybe multiple complexities of estate planning, family, probate, and then maybe even people who aren't lawyers but deal with estate planning issues that can really focus and hone in on that. So that's a fantastic idea. And I know even with me being in the lawyers group, we have our own little nationwide white collar criminal group that's more a little unofficial, but we've a bunch of the white collar federal criminal defense attorneys that are in ProVisors. David and I are in that group now too. So we have our own little email thing going on just because I'm sure there's not enough of us to have a formal affinity group, but maybe if we do, it'd be great to have that as a formal affinity group.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Today we have an unofficial affinity group just for consultants and coaches. So ProVisors is not just for attorneys. We do bring other professionals in different industry. Coaches and consultants are huge. So we do have right now an affinity group that's unofficial. However, they meet every month, and that's how we continue to expand, right? Once we have more members, then we will thrive to make that official.
Okay. And so one thing I've always wanted to ask you, because I see you're just on about almost every single group meeting, and a lot of them are on Zoom. I know some of them are in person. So how many meetings are you involved in any given week?
Yeah. So, we've grown to now 17 groups. So my focus right now is to support the new groups. Those groups that have been established and they've been around for 2-3 years, they're pretty much, they have built the group in a way that, that they don't need me as much. However, my new groups, they need my support. So I do attend all the new groups, and I constantly rotate and try to be there for my other groups too, because I do want to be there for them, whether it's just me being there, not saying anything at all, but just showing presence and moral support. I love to do that.
Right. And one of the key takeaways that I've really been learning about you is that this involves and requires excellent leadership. And so do you view yourself as a leader? Because sometimes there's people who are very humble and just say, I'm just being me. I don't even think of myself that way. Others are like, well, yeah, I guess so. And what is your style of leadership?
Yeah. So I never really view myself as a leader, but others did. They saw what I didn't see in me. And my style of leadership has been learning from those, from my group leaders, listening, adapting, and just being there for them, even if it's just an ear to listen to what they have to say. That's the type of leader I am. I want to provide that moral support to them so that they know that they can trust me and they can come to me and we can have an open conversation.
And I think trust is the foundation of every relationship. So in order to be an excellent leader, you must have trust with the people who rely on you. So that's very important, and that's absolutely right. I want to move now into a little bit of your childhood and coming to the United States. I'm sure there's an amazing story there. So how old were you when you came over?
I was 12 years old, and as I mentioned, it was challenging because I didn't know English. So I had to go through my middle school and high school years learning and going through different challenges. But I've always been the type of person that I learned from those experiences.
So your first 12 years, you're living in Peru. What made your family come to the United States?
Yeah, so I come from humble beginnings. My dad, growing up in Peru, my dad was a bus driver and my mom was a stay-home mom. They wanted a better life for us. And that came with a sacrifice. They had to make the difficult decision to leave their young children behind so that they can build a better life for us. So their resiliency and their unwavering commitment of giving us that better future is what taught me to value hard work and be grateful to the opportunities in life and perseverance.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 3 sisters.
3 sisters, right? Where do you fall in
I'm the second one. Between me and my older sisters, we're 11 months apart. And then the next one that comes after me, she's only 2 years apart. And then the little one, 7 years apart.
Okay, so I'm assuming the 3 of you were very close, the 3 oldest.
We still are. We're best friends.
And then, in a way, did you kind of learn how to be almost, older sister, but almost like a mother in a way when 7 years difference from the younger? Did you end up caring for your youngest sister and helping the family in that way?
Always. We always look out for each other. But my older sister really took on that role where she was always keeping an eye on all of us and taking care of us. And, it was hard because you didn't have a mother at that age. I have a daughter. She's 13. And I cannot imagine, me being away from her. We have a very nice relationship where, she knows she can count on me. I'm there for her activities. I participate. I'm very involved. So I do admire my parents making that decision to give us a better life.
So did they bring you to the United States or did they send you? How? Because you said that they left.
Right.
So how did that happen?
So they came here. My dad came first, and then my mom, and they were both working really hard. It's not easy to bring a child from another country, and we were 4, so they had to work a lot. So we came. It was my older sister came first, and then 2 years later, myself, my third sister, and my youngest one, we came together.
So that's an amazing amount of dedication and sacrifice and long-term planning that your parents had, and the belief of what it truly required to make sure that all 6 of you had a better life. So I am so impressed by that. And I'm sure exactly it's that level of grit and perseverance. Like you said, we call it get to yes. That's our 5th. We have 5 core values here at the Rossen Law Firm, and that's our 5th core value is get to yes. And it's really about grit and perseverance. So that must have taught you some amazing lessons very early on. And what was it like to come to a foreign country and not speak the language and be 12? I mean, it's hard enough to be in that preteen and early teen, those middle school years. My sons are 2 and 5 right now, and I'm dreading their middle school years. I know how tough middle school years were for me. So what was that like to not even be able to speak the language, not have any friends, at least right away, other than your family?
Yeah, so my mom put us in an ESOL program when we came. So that was a little bit easier because I don't know if you know this, but ESOL, you have others that are coming from other countries too, and there's some Spanish speaking. So that made it a little bit easier. However, you still had to study in English. You still have to be able to speak the language. So, every day coming back home and talking to my dad, because I will vent with him. I will tell him, I don't understand anything. I don't even know how to tell time.
Right. You're probably like, I hate it here.
Yes.
Home.
Yes. I'm like, please help me. And he couldn't help me. He didn't know the language either. But what I remember is he will always tell me, be patient. You'll get there. You're not the only one. So those words, ingrained in me, and I just continue to push forward. And I've always been a person that has very high discipline. Growing up, my parents used to tell me that I will always sharpen my pencils the day prior to school. I would fix my book bag and I will lay my clothes. And that, have always been part of me. So it wasn't the end of the world. Yes, it was hard, but I overcame those challenges and it made me the person who I am today.
Well, I think that discipline is very important. When, I've been a high school basketball coach for a long time, and we used to always tell our players, do your work early. Don't wait for the last minute. Don't procrastinate. Even on the basketball court, do your work early. Be in the right position when you're supposed to be. It just makes everything easier and better, especially when you have a team and multiple people all trying to do different parts of maybe the play or where they're supposed to be. So here you are as a young girl, making sure that you're doing your work early, sharpening those pencils, laying out your clothes. And that's a tremendous amount of discipline for a young person. But I think everybody that's listening to this, you can see that those characteristics, when they're learned and practiced early in life, it's been one of the foundational bedrock principles that have made you so successful in being able to take on many different challenges. So I think there's an amazing lesson in there about discipline.
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
It's hard.
Definitely. The opportunities that has been brought to me, starting a new region from the bottom, it has helped me throughout my career because I've always been that person, that discipline, always put that extra effort into things. I want to do good for me because I have a responsibility of my members, of my community. And South Florida is not just about networking. This is the place where professionals are growing their network. They're growing their relationships. Trust is being built. And there's also that aspect of, share success. Everyone here is sharing their success. We're learning from each other.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the foundation of every relationship is trust. And so what have you learned about trust through growing up or through, your career, right? And trust and how that relates to leadership.
So trust for me is important. It goes both ways. Not only for me to make sure that, I'm providing that level of trust, but also for my group leaders to be able to feel comfortable and come to me with knowing that, I'm here to help them and support them.
Right. And so one of the things that I learned, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and nobody really ever taught me this. I just learned from sitting and observing and seeing situations, both that others and myself, how they were handled. And a lot of times learning from mistakes. But I've learned that the true measure of leadership or someone's character is when there's an issue or a problem, because everybody can be great and fine, even on a basketball team. When you're winning solves and masks everything. There's a lot less problems and issues and bickering and fighting and arguing when you're winning. Or in business, right? When things go well, that's easy. Well, what happens when things don't go well? And then now even for us, when we work with external vendors, whether it's marketing or business, we interview and want to know about, well, okay, when, not if, but when there's an issue, when there's a problem, how are you and I going to solve it? Because that's really what matters to me with some of our vendor relationships.
Right.
So I've learned a lot about that. And how have you kind of learned through that process when things go wrong?
Yeah. So that's a good observation, because when things go wrong, I want to be able to be on the same page as my group leaders, right? Make sure that you and I are getting together and know how to go in together and be able to resolve that issue. But really understanding, because you cannot jump into conclusions, you have to understand what the situation is. But as long as we're going in together and we're on the same page, we can support each other. Now, of course, like you said, when there's a problem, people want to run away from it.
Right.
But I've learned, some people, but I've learned that the sooner you address that, the better it is, because that's how people trust you.
Right. Have an open and honest conversation. That's our number one core value. Our first core value is being open and honest at the firm. And so I think that's also key, is being able to, just, all right, let's not let the elephant in the room fester. Let's just take it head on. Let's communicate. Let's listen and understand what each other. Right? Let's not be waiting to speak, but actually listen to the other person's perspective and try to figure it out. I truly believe all problems can be solved. You just have to have that willingness to do that. So, and that's a part of, I think, great leadership as well. And I'm sure with even 2 years in building this and feeling all of your group leaders out, because again, you're building relationships, you're getting to know people and seeing how they operate. I'm sure there's been many things that I had no idea about behind the scenes, and things you guys have had to conquer and tackle and overcome.
Yes, the role is not just about growing the region. There are multiple incidents where I have to be able to think and come up with solutions. Right. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of growing as professionally and personally, because that only pushes you to really be able to tackle those challenges.
Right. Now, Erika, in this role for the last 2-3 years, what have been your biggest lessons learned specifically from building and managing and maintaining and continuing to grow the ProVisors South Florida chapter?
I'm always learning. I learn from my members. My members inspire me every day to continue pushing forward, to do a great job, and to be able to continue learning. Because I think that that's important, that you do not stop. You continue to learn. You can learn from the people around you. Be open-minded. But also, I think it's important to show sympathy, because you never know where people are. You never know what's going on, in their life.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. We call ourselves at the firm forever learners. We always want to gain knowledge, and not just knowledge, but be better. We want to be better today than we were yesterday. We want to be better tomorrow than we were today. And the minute that I think I have it all figured out is the day I need to just step away, because I don't even have it all figured out. I probably never will. But as long as I continue to grow personally, professionally, and just learn and always get better, that's so important to not just me at the firm, but everybody at the Rossen Law Firm. So when you say that really resonates with me, and having that growth mindset, because I'm sure you've been around people that think they know it all, that have that fixed mindset, right? And just are very resistant to learning new things. And so how do you deal with that when you have maybe a group leader or you're interviewing somebody who just seems like they're a know-it-all or not really open to learning or seeing a new perspective?
That's a very big challenge. Yes, I definitely have come across those type of personalities, but I feel like I'm always gonna put it in front of different type of people. And for me for me, it's important to listen so that I get to know them, right? If I start to build a relationship with that person, then that person will trust me, and then maybe they will learn to listen to me.
So it all goes back to relationships and trust, is what you're saying.
Yes, definitely. Like there's been situations where, there has been a member where, yes, they know it all. And we're just starting to build our relationship. So I can understand why that person doesn't have that trust or believe in me. But as the relationship progresses, they know that I'm here to support them and I have their back. So now it becomes a different type of relationship.
I think that's very important too, as not seeing you as, oh, you're here from corporate, or you're part of the big, ProVisors corporation, that you're more of that liaison and you're still one of us or one of them. You're here, boots on the ground. I think that's also something very important for leadership. And even for me at the firm, I don't have my own caseload anymore. And there's a few different reasons why. I'm not the primary attorney on any case, but I really believe that everybody in my firm and on my team knows that they need me for advice on a case. They need me to help on some situation. Yeah, I will absolutely do it. I want to do it. I want to be helpful. I want to lead by example. I want to provide value and assistance to my team, my people, because we all have the same mission. We all have the same vision of where we want the firm to go. We all have the same core values. And I think it's important, as I'm doing some higher level business and marketing and relationship building things, that at least our team, who's in the trenches fighting the good fight every day, knows that if they truly need me, I will be here.
Yeah.
I do. I hope you feel that, because I feel that I do that.
Yeah, and that's very respectful, because I genuinely care about my members, and I find time, as busy as I am growing the region, I find time to have lunch with them, to take somebody out for coffee. I just want to get to know you. That's really, I'm a person too.
Right.
And I want to come to you with a genuine heart of, let's have a conversation and let's get to know one another. How can I help you? And believe it or not, it's always the other way around. The members always are finding ways of helping me, which I love, because they see that type of relationship, that type of person that I am. I am a good person, and I really care about my community.
Right. I think that's very important. Now, what are the roles of mentors in your life? Maybe as a child, as a teenager, young adult, and even now, how have mentors influenced and shaped you?
When I started my career at AT&T, I was very lucky to had a great mentor. Until this date, he is a friend. He is somebody that I can call easily, and I can rely on this person. And he has taught me that a leader doesn't tell you what to do. They show you how to do it. And that was the type of leader he was. He was very, like you said, hands-on. He was very hands-on. When I had to go into an interview or an appointment with a client, he was there. He was supporting me, making sure that, I had that right support, and we were a team. It was never, my boss. It was, no, we're a team. I want to help you be successful.
I think that distinction is very important. Because instead of it being a top-down hierarchy, which a lot of times just builds in some natural, tendencies of I think just lack of like togetherness. When you look at each other more horizontally, more, okay, we're equals, right? And this might be technically my boss, but we're here together and we're on the same level. I just think that fosters teamwork, fosters working even harder. It fosters so much more about productivity and success and being better because you're in it together. So I really like that.
That's a good point, Adam, because I always excel because I want to, I want to take care of him in a way that he was taking care of me as well.
Right. Now, as you're, a little older and experienced and you doing great things, have you been able to mentor anyone else? Maybe your children, obviously I'm sure some of the members, but now do you look at yourself as, hey, I'm now to some people the wise Yoda from Star Wars, and I'm not just, Luke Skywalker, the young one learning. Have you evolved a little bit?
Yes. My sisters, they reach out to me all the time when they have questions or when they are struggling with something, especially when it comes to professional. They're always, you're around that, Erika. You've been, you have the experience. So I have conversations with my sisters on certain situations on how they can approach them. So yes, 100%. And today, actually, a couple of years ago, I started coaching a volleyball team of young kids of 10, 11 years old for two reasons. I love playing volleyball, beach volleyball, and also I wanted to be with my son. So, spending more time with him and having a topic of conversation, another topic of conversation so that I can continue to get close with my kids.
So did you play volleyball in high school or growing up?
When I was in Peru, at 7 years old, they had a free public groups of people that they will play volleyball, and I was always involved in that. When I came to the U.S., I played in middle school and I also played in high school. Never really, competitive, but I've always been a competitive person. So no matter where you put me, I will always excel.
That's great. And so I didn't know that about you, about volleyball, because Manny, who's the managing partner, he played in high school. He's very good. He still plays. He plays a lot of beach. So next time you talk to Manny, that's definitely something that the two of you need to talk about. His daughter's 4 and he cannot wait. He's already getting her involved in it, and he's going to be that volleyball dad. And I know it's just going to be a great bonding experience for him and his daughter. So that's great. And that's great that you're able to coach young kids and share that experience with your son and have that shared experience and that shared love for competition, sport, having fun. Now, how do you use that in that coaching? Because remember, they're still kids, and there's a little difference. So when I'm coaching high school, it's 14 through 18, and there's a big difference between 11 and 14, and especially a big difference between 11 and maybe 16 to 18. So how do you balance? I'm mom, I'm coach. I want to push you to learn, be disciplined and work hard, but I also want you to have fun and let's bond together, right? Because all of those things in one can be difficult at times.
Yes. So I have to be very careful the way I approach my kids because they're my kids. But at the end of the day, I don't want to discourage them from continuing to learn and grow. This is what I always tell them. I said, if you're playing volleyball, if you're playing soccer, whatever sport you're playing, or even at work, try to give it your best. That's all I'm asking. You don't have to be a professional now. If you want to pursue this as a professional, then that's your decision. But I want you to be a well-rounded person. And that's the reason why I want you to be in activities. So always do your best and respect others so that others can respect you too.
Right. And I think, sports is so good at teaching life lessons to kids. And one of the things that there's kind of two competing sayings about character. So I do believe that sports and even the ups and the downs helps build character. It really does, because you're forced to be in these situations of working hard, of having success, of having failure, of individual success, team failure, individual failure, the ups and downs. And I think it definitely builds character. But then it gets to a point when you're a little older, where those things in adversity doesn't necessarily build. Well, it still builds. You can always learn and grow, but then it more becomes where it reveals it. And that's what we, talked about a little bit earlier about how do you handle things in the bad times. So you can always learn and grow, right, forever, but it also does become revealing. And I'm sure, as your kids get older and they play more, they'll start to see and have those situations where maybe their friends or teammates' character gets revealed, and they can still learn from that and see how people handle those situations.
Yeah. My daughter, for example, she's super competitive and she takes, from me. But I always remind her, have fun. Yes, I know you want to win, but also enjoy the moment.
Right. That's one thing that I still can get better at. And I'm always trying to just enjoy the moment. As a trial lawyer, we're so invested in winning and fighting hard and performing. And sometimes it's, you give it your all and you win, and there's that little bit of enjoyment, but then it's, okay, well, I got to go to the next case tomorrow, and I got to handle 5 more cases and this and that. And I think I personally can do a better job of just sitting back, taking deep breaths, and just enjoying the moment, and reflecting back on it, because there's so much hard work as competitive people and as competitive trial lawyers that we are. There's so much work that goes into it. And I think the key to people's long-term success who are highly driven is to reflect back and enjoy the success, not just keep pushing. So I know I've done some work on that myself, to really just enjoy the moments.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So Erika, we've learned so much talking to you. What advice do you have for anybody listening to this? Just about, what can they do to improve their lives, to be more successful, to, take chances and go for it?
My advice will be to never stop learning, to continue to push forward, challenge yourself. For me, this interview today was a challenge. I know that I told myself I am going to step out of my comfort zone. And that helps you to grow professionally and personally. So no matter how bad you think the situation may be, believe in yourself. Believe that God is guiding you through so many different challenges in your life, and have faith.
Yeah, I learned, again, through my teenage and young adult years, stepping out of the comfort zone is key. That's the only place where true growth happens. I know we talked, 3 days ago, and you're like, oh, I'm nervous, but I'm coming here. And I said, amazing. And I said, Erika, I want you to share that with everybody, because I want people who are either listening to this or watching this to see you, hear your story, and also say, well, she speaks all the time at different places, but then coming in person, having cameras here, a microphone in your face, right? It can be intimidating, and you persevered through and stepped out of your comfort zone. And the fact that I was able to give you a situation or a platform for your own personal and professional growth and development makes me very happy. You know?
You should be very happy, because on my way here, I was thinking, wow, thank you, Adam. I was telling myself, for giving me this opportunity, for helping me step out of that comfort zone. And from here on, I just wanted to keep going.
Right. You could have, even on the way here, quote unquote, had a flat tire, turned around. I'm sure there were many opportunities, and you kept saying, nope, I'm going to do it. And again, that's where the growth happens. So, I'm so glad that you're here, that you're doing this. You've done a fantastic, amazing job. And, and I'm glad that I can help you as well, because you've helped me so much, already with ProVisors and just everything. And I'm happy to call you a friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So, Erika, where can people find you if they find you, through social media, through wherever? And for people that are interested in ProVisors, how can they find ProVisors, get in touch with you, or just the company in general?
Yeah. So I'm very big in social media. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn under Erika Buenaventura. You can always reach out to me either by text or even a phone call, whatever works. My phone number is 954-551-0884, or you can reach out to me via email, erica@provisors.com. I often meet with candidates, people that are interested in learning more about the community, and I would love to continue to bring more professionals that are interested in being part of this wonderful community.
Yes, because we need it. There's a lot of networking groups out there, but there's really none that mixes and balances true high-level professionals like ProVisors. It really is. It's not, I know you guys turn a lot of people away.
We do.
Yeah, and I respect that, because you want it to be elite.
That's because not everyone is a good fit for ProVisors, and sometimes we're not a good fit for everyone. But yes, we do go through a vetting process, and again, that is a different from other network organizations, right? That set us apart. We do go through a vetting process to make sure that it is going to be a good fit for you, but it's also going to be a good fit for the community.
And the longer that I've been in business, I've realized, especially the last few years, it's completely fine. And it's actually more than fine. It should be the norm to be able to say, listen, attract and repel. Attract the people who will be great members and will be best for us, and that we will be best for. And it's completely fine to repel or say, well, maybe not. Either you're not good for, you're the best for us, or we're not maybe the best for you. And that's okay to say no. Saying no for those things are okay, because it doesn't mean that the person's a bad person. It doesn't mean that the organization's a bad person or a bad organization. It just means it's not the right fit. And ultimately, when people have the right fit, they're going to be happier, right? And it's just going to be a much better experience. So,
correct.
Yeah. So, Erika, thank you so much. I feel like we learned so much about you and just about life and success. And thank you for everything that you do for our local community. And, I'm so glad you've been here. So again, thank you so much for spending a good amount of time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. You made it very smooth and comfortable, so I appreciate that.
Good.